Monster Hunter Wilds is potentially the most accessible title in the series, much faster paced while still keeping most of what makes the series so unique. That means there's still a ton of stuff a new player might struggle with, a lot of new mechanics even veterans might not know. Tons of little tips that the game doesn't tell you that could be game-changing. Rather than a random list of things for newbies to know, I want to take you through the game's beginning sections as the game introduces concepts to you and further give info or tips on what you might want to know. Like, did you know you can equip your mantle with L1 plus R2? Which, this video will be going with a PlayStation controller, and at most parts of the video, a PlayStation controller display on screen so you can see my buttons. If you are unsure of what buttons I mean, check the controller on the side. I will also be using the default control layout, with all modifications I made to be based on this layout. If you change your controller layout, be sure to take that into account. As for keyboard and mouse players, frankly that just sounds like an awful way to play the game, but you do you. You are very likely to change your keybinds quite a lot, so focus on what the button does rather than what the button is. No matter what, this video will not be completely exhaustive, even if I am being thorough. Feel free to leave a comment with questions, or a comment of what tips you might have for a newbie. And if you like this video, please sure to support me in whatever way you deem. Like, comment, subscribe, socials, and I stream on Twitch. Mostly variety and playthroughs. Let's step into a brand new adventure. I will be using a character separate from my main to redo the story. After the introduction cutscenes comes character creation. Make sure you're happy with your hunter and palico, as you can't easily change it. They've even started charging money for changing it, but they do give some freebies. You will also be seeing your face a lot more than you think, so if nothing else, be sure to sculpt your face and pick a voice to your liking. Unlike most games in the series, your hunter is fully voiced, as is your cat. But you can put them on the feline language, which makes them speak entirely in meows, the correct option. Otherwise, this is your typical modern character creation, just also a cat is included. I fully recommend when it asks what tutorials you want, to go with full on. As a veteran to the series, I did not feel they were overbearing. After some more cutscenes, you get thrown into a bit of an automated gameplay section. Some minor getting used to the controls and an introduction to your grappling hook of sorts, the Slinger. It teaches you how to obtain and spend the Slinger. We'll get more into this with proper gameplay. In the coming cutscene, you'll be given a great sword. While your hunter makes it look easy, you probably have no idea how to use it. Any weapon for that matter. Talking to Alma in the tent after this will give you the chance to change weapon. She will also give you a short questionnaire to determine what weapon you might like. I am unsure how accurate she is with her suggestions, but I'll just say, pick the weapon you think you might enjoy. We do have a barrel here that you can use for testing out your weapon of choice. I recommend just going with what seems like will be fun. Whack the barrel for a minute or two to get a basic bearing on the controls and the feel of it. Don't worry about spending an hour here. There's a better training area coming. I will say though, this is a good time to change one or two settings. And the second tab of the options menu is the controls section. The first page has auto sheath. Turn this off, as this will almost never benefit you. It also gets in the way of testing your weapon, since it won't be sheathing itself in a normal fight. On the second page is the aim/focus mode controls. You can change focus mode on L2 from being a hold to a toggle. I personally recommend the toggle, but go with what is comfy to you. The focus mode is such a huge mechanic in Wilds, to the point the game is almost built around it. While playing with your weapon for a moment here, try out the focus mode. It allows you to turn on a dime during most, if not all, attacks you do with your weapon of choice. This is also where I'll be adding the controller display onto the screen. This will allow you to see my button presses at all times. When you're ready, head over to the Seikret and begin your journey to the first real hunt. The D-pad is your dedicated Seikret control buttons. D-pad up to mount mounts it in auto mode. When not manually moving the Seikret, auto mode will cause it to automatically veer back towards whatever your current main target is. Very useful for simple progress and other things. But while trying to explore, D-pad down will put the Seikret into manual drive. This is key for making it not feel like a drunk chicken, as is the accelerator and brake buttons. By default, the Seikret has cruise control. It will keep running forward like a car would. You can only stop it by pressing R2 to brake. useful for stopping to collect items, while when exploring you could just let it run forward with little input. There is an option though, for putting all movement on the stick instead. I much prefer the default option though. We'll talk more about this once the game opens up more. Now we have our first real hunt. While you do take damage during this, none of this actually seems to count as far as doing damage. The first part of this is all tutorials, letting you get the hang of actually fighting a moving target. I would follow the prompts it gives you just to learn important mechanics and even a few tips to your specific weapon. For example is the whetstone. Weapons lose sharpness as you fight and need to be sharpened. You have a radial menu or the bar in the bottom right, both accessed by pressing L1. Sharpening your weapon is extremely key to keeping your damage up. Walk away or mount your Seikret to sharpen. You can use most items while on the Seikret, so you don't even need to be on the ground to sharpen. After a while of tutorials, you'll be put into the hunt proper. You'll get a quest begin pop-up and a clock at your quest notification. This is 50 minutes, so you basically never worry about time in this game. Slay the Chotacabra and call for an SOS if you wish. SOS flares guarantee some NPC help and also put you in a special help pool for multiplayer matchmaking. The game aims to be seamless between single player and multiplayer, to mixed results. I will not be using the flayers. You will also be given a third Seikret button. This will call the Seikret to pick you up and open the supply window. Supplies are only available during proper hunts. You will be given some extra items to help you along during a hunt. Be sure to check this every time, as it sometimes even gives hints as to what things a monster can do to you and what counters it. Defeat the Chotacabra and earn your first chance to carve. Carving the monsters you defeat is a Monster Hunter pastime, and you'll be doing so very much carving going ahead. Feel free to skip the rest of the timer with the pad button? I don't even know what this thing is and I hate it. Or go gather stuff around the area and let it time out on its own. Feel free to explore your loot, but take all of it. There will always be uses for stuff down the line. There is no reason to sell any of it. Money is so easy to come by in Wilds, it's kind of silly. Continue the story a bit, and you'll have your first chapter completion. If you want to view the rewards and you miss it with a notification on the side, you can simply hold the options button to bring up the chat log. Select the notification of the chapter completion, and you can see what you missed. There's also a quest reward section of the menu. Talking to Olivia in the camp will now unlock the training area. This is your real place to test out your weapon and whether you like what you have. You can customize the settings to your liking, and even start an attack setting for practicing any counter skills your weapon comes with. Many weapons do, and you will see something about it in the play guide. The play guide describes a lot about what a weapon can do, but does not explain even close to all of it. You may want to look up specific guides, or just play around with the weapon a lot in here. Even as a veteran to the series, I spent an hour in here testing all the new things a switch axe can do. There is no shame in spending multiple hours here to get your bearings. A very important aspect to get used to is the wound system. When doing damage to parts of a monster, they will become wounded. When in focus mode, doing a focus strike with R1 or enough damage, the wound will open completely and turn red with scout flies. Doing a focus strike on the spot will do a special attack that deals heavy damage, breaks the wound, and can have a number of beneficial effects based on your weapon. Some weapons gain some of the gauge, others skip to the end of a combo. Every spot has a cooldown before a new wound can appear. There are other effects too, such as staggering the monster. Maybe a monster is about to do a big attack. You can interrupt them by focus striking a wound to stun them for the entire animation, and potentially even knock them over from the wound breaking. Not all animations can be interrupted like this, but it can really come in clutch for the stun lock alone. You can also choose to not immediately break a wound, as doing damage to a wound will actually do bigger hits. It will eventually break under normal attacks, so try to break it with a focus attack at the end. You will also get materials for breaking wounds, so this is a main way to gather monster parts. Also note this wall over here. The game never mentions this from what I saw, but some walls can be used as part of your combo toolkit. Aerial attacks have a use we'll go into in a bit, but wall jumps and running or dodging off of ledges, even short ledges, will give jump attacks you can use to get an edge. Let's also talk the Slinger. you'll notice I'm grappling this bug to get to the higher ledge. These bugs are all over and allow you to get aerial attacks even when in a flat, open field, or for quick traversal without calling the Seikret. The main uses are for gathering stuff in the field and shooting stuff. When it comes to the shooting part, there's actually two halves. There's the normal slot and the field supply slot. When loading your Slinger, sometimes you'll see two items loaded in. This is because when loading in a tool or Slinger pod from your inventory, they don't want to force you to drop any supply pods you find. Overworld enemies and items will give ammo that disappears after a quest, like the supply potions. When trying to pick up a second supply pod, you will drop the previous one. This slot gets superseded by inventory-based pods without dropping the supply pod. We also have a setting to toggle in controls. At the bottom of the first page is Slinger Auto Load. This makes it that if you close the item bar on ammo, it will auto load into the Slinger even if you didn't want it to. Maybe we're preparing it for later. In that case, you can turn this feature off, and always have to manually load your Slinger. This is also where you'll want to really dig into settings. There are a ton of them to experiment with. I'll give you a few suggestions. First, we have the focus camera in camera settings. This will force the camera to always be looking toward a large monster in combat. Play around with it here, but I keep mine off for personal preference. This also mentions the target camera on R3. This can be enabled and disabled just by pressing R3 and affects what tapping L1 does to the camera. If turned on, tapping L1 will auto-turn the camera to face the monster. When off, L1 puts the camera behind your hunter. If you do not like the target camera, simply increase the camera turning speed by a bit. Some monsters are very fast and need fast camera movement. We also have the maps. Give the map the option to recenter with the stick press. Being able to spin the map at your leisure, but also fix it back to north instantly, is just the best of both worlds. For the minimap, I prefer for mine to always point north. However, there's the angle to worry about. A top-down view better shows where stuff is in the world when it is a flat area. If you're in an area with verticality, the 3D map can be better. Try both out as you progress the game. The next setting we'll want to leave and head to Gemma and the Forge. Weapon attack power display in game settings, display without coefficient. Monster Hunter has something called a bloat value for weapons. This makes faster weapons have smaller numbers than slow weapons per attack. Makes sense. However, calculations are done on what is called the raw attack level. That is, the number without this bloat value. Look at gear while you're here, and you'll see a ton of different skills. A simple attack up skill will increase your attack by 3. 3 points when you have 400 bloat seems pretty bad. 3 points when you have 100 raw is like saying you get a 3% damage boost. The bloat value comes in after that. So 100 raw becoming 400 bloat is a times 4. A bonus of 3 raw is a bonus of 12 after bloat. This is why the coefficient is bad to see as a newer player. Skills do not display dynamically with the bloat applied. Speaking of the Forge, upgrading your weapons and armor is key to your survival. Not only do you get special skills that can massively augment your status, the simple power boosts are really strong on their own. Fighting monsters multiple times is part of the core loop of the game as you try to get specific drops. Keep up on it, because you never know when a weapon might upgrade into the best weapon you have. We're soon pushed into our tent, our main base of operations. We can create loadouts for items, ammo for the ranged weapons, and our equipment. Always take a stop in here between quests. A quick press of triangle will allow you to restock any items in your pouch up to their max. Now we properly get introduced to lobbies. A lobby can hold up to 100 players, and you can get your friends into your lobby through some methods. Otherwise, these lobbies are how you get other players into your hunt. If you want to engage in the drop-in, drop-out multiplayer of Wilds, make sure to properly configure your lobby settings to get a lobby with more newbie players than the kind of people at endgame you will see around you. I will be staying in online single player instead, thanks to Alma. I also recommend heading to the support counter. Bounties are a weekly set of tasks mostly aimed at endgame players, but low-rank players will be able to do 1 or 2 of these. I also say, go into the DLC window. Ignore most of it, and instead look for the stuff marked free. Maybe skip the high-risk texture pack, but there's a special welcome pack with free items and some free gestures. Make sure to go to the claim content section to actually get the items. We also have daily login bonuses. Each daily login you do will give a small amount of free items, a large amount for your first time, and a single lucky voucher. Lucky vouchers can be spent on hunts to guarantee the maximum amount of rewards, and often rarer rewards. This next part of the game introduces two concepts to you: slow story walks and gathering. During the story walks, you will have to follow a predetermined path forward, often with no deviation at all. During these sections, just hold L2 and fire your Slinger to collect everything you pass. Being a loot goblin is going to help you later. Just be sure to hop into your tent after every one of these to ensure you make bag space. Gathering itself as a tutorial, just note that you gather stuff. The real gathering we'll do is after this next few quest sections. Included is a forced ground movement section to both make you miss your Seikret and realize the hunter is capable of great movement. There are tons of paths only the Seikret can travel, but they want you to realize there is still a lot you as a hunter can climb. Arriving back at camp, we get tools and the shop. The shop is simple: buy tons of stuff to put right into the storage box rather than your inventory. Notice how we got 3,000 zenny from that first hunt? That can buy tens to hundreds of items depending on what you buy. You don't need any of this yet, so feel free to ignore it, but you genuinely will see no money troubles as you play. As for your tools, it's time for a deeper dive into the inventory. Using square and L1 and R1 to change from horizontal to vertical, you can stack all of your tools together in one place in the inventory. Using the scrolling bar, top to bottom goes first. So in this example, it would go fishing rod, binoculars, net, mantle. Pressing L3 on the item or equipment menu is a quick way to bring up the loadout windows. Save how you have sorted your inventory and what you have in the inventory. For example, here are the basic loadouts I made on my main character: a basic hunt kit, an empty inventory for gathering sessions, and a set for capturing monsters. There are many items that a hunter can bring that will benefit them, such as buffing items. While here, we can make a gathering set to use in a bit. Go to equipment, hit L3, and then triangle to make sure you save your normal gear. Then you can go back and put on a mix of gear. What we're looking for is a mix of the geologist and botanist skills. These up how much we can gather at gathering points around the map. I spring for geologist level 3 and botanist level 2, as geologist is the more worthwhile skill for collecting items you need for upgrading your gear. We'll be making use of this set at the end of the video. Back to our tools, having all of these tools on the bar can make it hard to scroll around to other usable items. Maybe you want to use the radio wheel for all your tools, with the bar being for potions and such. Tapping X on a tool in the tent will turn on and off whether it is displayed on the item bar. I keep these all off, instead going to customize my radio wheel, placing the tools in a comfortable position so a flick of the right stick will give me what I want. Be sure to go into the menu and change if you want it to be on right stick press or right stick release that these items on the radio menu are used. One of these tools though is the BBQ grill. You can turn raw meat into well done steak in the hardest minigame ever. I've still never gotten all 5 cuts. Yes, this part with the cutting is part of the minigame. I can never get the last cut. And no, it doesn't need to be done at a camp. Well done steak is useful for upping your stamina, as with continued gameplay it will slowly be cut down. Keep some on you at all times for refreshing it anytime you see your HP and stamina bars aren't capped. Moving forward, we have our second hunt with the Chemitress. This one tries to teach you more about using the overworld to your advantage. You can bring monsters to frogs or traps built into the world to gain an advantage, or just hit them over and over until you win. Let's talk 2 concepts besides instead: sleeping monsters and mounting. When low on HP, all monsters are going to start fleeing toward their nest. When they arrive, they will go to sleep and slowly recover. That doesn't mean you should wake them up instantly. We have instead barrel bombs. Especially in multiplayer, everyone will place down bombs next to the head of the monster, typically a weak point. The first attack to hit the sleeping monster will do double damage. So if you use a weaker weapon, you can pick up and throw a barrel bomb to safely detonate them. Or if someone brought a greatsword, Have them do their big combo finisher attack to do a giant hit to the monster. Detonate the bombs as well, and each one will do big damage. As for mounting, I mentioned aerial attacks in the training room. Hitting the back of a monster with a jumping attack will up the mounting status. If in an open field, your Seikret makes for a good jumping off point. A dismount off a running Seikret is a jump. Attack during it, and you will mount the monster after 2 or 3 hits, depending on your weapon. That's only for the first mount though, as statuses have a built-up resistance. Every additional mount attempt will take more attacks to activate. While on the monster, you can move around to 2 or 3 spots on their back. Bigger monsters tend to have 3. In these spots, you can attack with triangle, circle, and R1. Attacking will open wounds. Using R1 on an open wound will cause a finisher attack that also knocks down the monster. Your main goal is to open 2 wounds on their back, then finishing attack one of them. There's 2 wrinkles to this: your stamina and the monster's stamina. Your stamina will constantly drain while up here, and the monster will try to fight you off. When the monster's stamina gauge flashes red, it means it is doing an attack to knock you off in your current position. Move to another spot or brace until it finishes. Failure to do so will knock a chunk of stamina off of you. Simply move to the other part of the monster you are attempting to open while the attack goes off. More worrying is the monster's stamina. Their stamina drains with every attack you do. Fast knife attacks seem to be the least effective at opening wounds, so stick to heavy attacks and weapon attacks to open wounds. Weapon attacks tend to be the slowest option, so don't use them if the gauge is flashing. Also don't use on an open wound if you're not done opening more wounds. As you attack, the stamina gauge will get smaller and turn completely red. When red, that means their stamina is about to run out. Finish opening wounds and do your finisher soon, as your next attack might just make it run out of stamina. When it does, the mount will end regardless of if you do a finishing attack. This is why it's good to prioritize opening 2 wounds. Worst case scenario, you finish it on one and have a second one open. Finally, when you're on the head of a monster, many monsters you'll see the camera suddenly shift as they move. This means they're going to head to a wall and bonk on it to try and knock you off. Wait for them to get close to the wall, as when they bonk it, it will do some damage and stun them for a short period. This gives you a lot of time to open more wounds into a finishing strike. Finishing this hunt will grant you permanent access to the Seikret and the weapon pouch on it. This gives you all 4 Seikret buttons. All 4 directions will call the Seikret and also do a secondary thing. Down is manual mode, up is auto mode, left is the supply pouch, and now right is to swap weapons. You can bring 2 weapons to every hunt. There is a massive amount of flexibility to what weapon you can bring to each monster, and so much more to what secondary weapon you bring. You could bring 2 long swords, one for stunning the monster with a status effect, and the second for pure damage. Or perhaps 2 different weapons for utility. One example is bringing a hunting horn. Before engaging the monster, put up some buffs with the horn, then swap back to your main weapon. The buffs might not last long, but it's a good opening gambit, especially in multiplayer. Next we have rations and meals. Rations are earned so quickly that you will never run out. Do not be afraid to constantly spend rations. They up your maximum HP, stamina, and give a small buff for at minimum 30 minutes. That's a lot of hunting. Also, stop eating off the knife, dude, that's dangerous. I recommend not eating right now because your next story quest is going to give you a free meal. This one lasts for an hour and gives you a ton of buffs. This is a special invite meal, which you will get more of as the game progresses. These meals can be very rare to pop up even at endgame, so grab them anytime you see them available. They will disappear even if you don't use them. From here you can go hunt a bunch of monsters in the open world, use the quest counter to fight them again, or continue the story into the forest. Instead, I'm going to end this video on gathering, since this will be our first opportunity to leave the camp without being railroaded by the story. We can freely explore and gather in the world for the first time here. This is a poor use of your meal timer, so if you're going to go gathering too, just accept that you're losing time on the food. Speaking of food timers, holding L1 will tell you how long you have left on your food timer. It also gives a little circle on the buff icon. The circle will appear for every buff you have to give you an idea of how long you have left. Once low on time, a countdown will appear even without pressing L1. Let's go put on that gear set we made first. Geologist and Botanist will increase how much we get out of nodes in the world. Crafting materials from ores and bone piles are important to gather up, so go out into the world, head to nodes on the map, and gather away. Maybe also empty your inventory of all regular items so you have room to just gather like mad. Maybe take a detour to fight an enemy anyway. Here also we can see the sneak attack in play. Instead of just running at the monster and hitting it, walk up to it from behind and get a special sneak attack for massive opening damage. In the overworld, fighting enemies will automatically initiate quests after enough interaction. All quest rewards will go right to your box too. There's no worry about how much you gather either. Usable items will eventually clog up your main inventory, but crafting items will go into the field pouch. This seems to infinitely expand no matter how much you gather. Once you get back to the tent, it will automatically empty to the item box. So just gather everything you see. Even then, technically usable items are crafting materials too. Stuff like herbs are used to make potions, which will make mega potions when combined with honey. We can open this window at any time, and the tent is a good place to preview these crafts and even set up auto crafts. For example is the supply potions plus honey combo. You never get supply potions except for during a proper hunt. These potions disappear even if you don't use them, so why not grab the honey you run past during the hunt to automatically turn these into mega supply potions. This means you spend less of your actual stash while still getting all the healing you might need. As you play, you might develop a playstyle that involves turning some of these on or off. Play with these at your leisure, and don't be afraid to experiment. By endgame, it is very easy to become rich in both materials and money. This covers only a handful of basics about the game. There is so much more to Monster Hunter that you can learn and explore. If you are watching this video as a viewer from the FF14 part of my channel, please join us in this wonderful hunting world. If you're a newbie to Monster Hunter and this helped you in any way, please leave a comment and rating. Maybe share the video around. You can also come follow me on my socials and Twitch, where I stream lots of games. Thank you for watching, and may the power of Anne and Nidhogg's authorize you to hunt your enemies.